equation. So take the derivative of x squared. Should give you, bring down the 2 there. X, 2 minus 1. Well, that's just 1. And the derivative of 2x, well, that's just 2. Minus 3. The derivative of 3, that's just 0, so I'm just going to leave it out. Then we're going to do Newton's formula. Again, Newton's formula is this. I realize that the more you write Newton's formula, the more you start to memorize his stuff. There we go, x sub n minus f of xn over f prime of x sub n. Okay, so n is going to be 0, because that's what we start off with. So wherever we see an n, we're going to put a 0. So x sub 0 plus 1 is equals to x sub 0 minus f of x sub n. So where we see our n, that's just going to be 0. There we go. X sub 0 plus 1, that's just 1. And hey, what do you know? This is going to help us find x sub 1. There, minus f of x sub 0 over f prime of that. We already know what our f of x is, and we already know what our f prime of x is. So we're just going to put it all together. It'll make sense, I believe. X sub 0, we already know what x sub 0 is. That's just 2 as it told us, minus our f of x sub 0, excuse my language, excuse my slurring, I mean, that's going to be 2 sub 0 squared. Okay, so for this one, wherever you see x in this equation, you're just going to put a sub 0 there. I will tell you why in a bit. 0 minus 3. Awesome. Over 2 x sub 0 minus 2. Alrighty, we got this in a roll. This is an 11. This is me just bringing down the x sub 1. So there we go. So we have 2 over here. We already know where x sub 0 is. That's just 2. We're going to square that over 2. Actually, why did I put a 0 here? No, that's x sub 0. I am sorry. And yeah, so x sub 0 is equals to 2 minus 3 over 2 x sub 0, wherever you're going to see a x sub 0 is equals to 2. I'm sorry if I'm slurring when I say x sub 0. It's just that every time when I say sub 0, I think of Mortal Kombat. So that's what's throwing me off. I was like, wait, we're not talking about Mortal Kombat. We're talking about calculus. So our x sub 0 is 2. There we go. So we're going to simplify this. 2 times 2 squared, that's just 4. Sorry about that, I had an itchy nose. 2 times 2, that's just 4 again, minus 3 over 2 times 2, that's just 4, minus 2. I'm going to put this in parentheses so it doesn't throw anybody off. 4 minus 4, sorry about that, I'm holding it sideways. 4 minus 4 is 0, 0 minus 3, negative 3 over 4 minus 2, that's just 2, minus 2, and our 2 minus that. Okay, so we already know that negative and negative, that's just positive and positive. So there we go. And then we're going to do, well, for me it's easier to write it on the side, but if you want to be advanced and technical with it, it's like 4 over 2 plus 3 over 2. Hey, what do you know? This equals to 5 over 2. And depending how your teacher is with this stuff, I would suggest, wow, I am not doing math this late at night. Sorry about that. 4 plus 3, that's 7. I am not on a roll. Anyways, 7 over 2. Now, depending how your professors are, you might want to ask your professor, because I'm no professor in any way, shape, or form. So sometimes some professors, they'll just say, oh, if you find it a fraction, just leave it as is. But some professors, they'll say, okay, now put it into decimal. So that's when you divide 7 divided by 2. That'll give you 3.5. What do you know? Alrighty. Now, x sub 1, in this part, x sub 1 is equals to 3.5. So we did that, but unfortunately, our practice problem asked us to find x sub 1 and x sub 2. So we're going to do the same thing as for x sub 2. So for x sub 2, remember this, this can all go wrong. If you find your x sub 1 wrong, then that means all your other values after x sub 1, so x sub 2, it'll be wrong too. That's what's the downfall of this Newton's method. Okay, so for x sub 2, alrighty, so I'm going to write on the top again, x sub 1 is equals to 3.5. Alrighty, and let's just put this all in, there we go, a border. And no, I am not an advocate for building the wall. I'm just kidding. I don't have any opinions on that. This is math, not politics. Anyways, let's do this. Okay, so for this one, this is our Newton's method. We're going to do the same thing for x sub 2. So n is 1 now, because that's what we have over here. Our n is 1, so n is equals to 1. So over here, okay, so I'm going to put x, and wherever you see an n, you're going to put a 1 there. 1 plus 1 is equals to that. X sub 1 minus f, there we go, over f prime 1. Okay, so I already know what our f of x is. Our f of x is our original equation, is what our book gave us. So, okay, so we do n x sub 1 plus 1 is equals to x sub 2. So what do you know? After we're done with this, we actually find out what x sub 2 is. X sub 1, it already gave us up here, is equals to 3.5 minus our f of x is this whole thing right here. So wherever you see an x, you're just going to put an x sub 1. So I'm going to put x sub 1 squared minus 2x sub 1 minus 3 over. I'm going to put this in parentheses so that nobody gets confused while watching this video. 2x sub 1 minus 2. Alrighty, so we already know what our x sub 1 is, and that's just 3.5. So wherever you see an x sub 1, you're going to put a 3.5 in there. 3.5, already did that in the beginning. 3.5 squared minus 2 times 3.5 minus 3. I realized that I cut myself off there. was too busy writing all this down. Minus 2. That's great. Alrighty, there we go. So, from what I know, 3.5 squared, that is just 12.25 minus 2 times 3.5, that'll give you 7. Minus 3 over. Again, that's just 7 minus 2. Great. 3.5. If you want, it helps to write down x sub 2, because most of the time once I'm done with this, I'm like, wait, did I figure out x sub 1 or x sub 2 or x sub 3 again? Because for most part, it can get very confusing, especially with a bunch of numbers thrown at you. So, we're going to do, okay, so this top here, this equals to, the numerator is equals to 2.25 over 7 minus 2, 5. Great. Minus 3.5. Okay. So when we do that, okay, so 2.25, that'll give you, divided by 5, that'll give you 0.45 minus 3.5. Forgot to write down my x's. And just like and then subtract these two numbers and we get 3.05 is our x sub 2. Okay, so we figured out our x sub 1 and our x sub 2 over here. So we're done. That's it. That's all you have to do. Now, if you have any suggestions on what was it? Yeah, so if you have any suggestions on me bettering this video, that'd be great. If you realize I'm going way too fast, let me know in the comments below. Although you can change the speed, but I highly doubt, I would highly advise not to do that, because you'll get me in slow motion. If that's what you want, you can do that and just mute me in the background. That'd be great. And alrighty, that's question 6. And don't forget to like.